I am giving them that sense of belongingness in my classroom.
I just love these teacher success stories. This is my favorite episode of the year.
Yeah, it's great to get into the classroom, see them in their own practice, and see how they put their personality into their lessons.
I just can't wait to use some of these strategies in my own classroom.
Yeah, I really liked how Raquel used games to encourage engagement. I would have loved to have been a student in her math class. Do you have any advice for teachers who might want to put more games in their lessons?
A few things about games stood out for me here. One of them is the importance of planning your games, having everything ready so that your students can just concentrate on the content and the fun of the game. And part of that is going over your procedures and expectations with them so they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing during the game. I think it's also important to have really simple games. Raquel's games were things like how many tiles can you collect, or get rid of all of your cards. And that's so important in making the game accessible to all students so that they don't get nervous about the rules of the game and what they have to do, and they can really just focus on the content that you're presenting in the game. And speaking of content, I think that's really the most important thing here. Every game that Raquel used had to do with the math that she was teaching that day and at that time. Keeping it tied to the content is really important because games are fun, but they're effective when they're tied to the objectives that you're teaching.
You're right. Games are incredibly fun, and as Jennifer showed us, so is building relationships with students. It's obvious that she invests a lot of time in developing student rapport, and her students enjoy her class. But beyond that, can you explain how a teacher can use a positive student relationship to increase academic performance?
One thing that really stood out for me was how Jennifer said that she asked her students about what they did on the weekends and what new things they were learning. And that's so important because she's showing that she's following up on her knowledge of her students. She didn't just check in on them once. Instead, she's learning about them as they grow. And that's going to have two really good effects. It's going to show students that she cares and that she's following them as they grow and learn new things. But it's also going to give her a way of taking those interests and putting them into her content so that she's building engagement in her subject matter. These two things together are going to help students achieve academically, but it's also going to help them behave better because they're developing these relationships with her and they're going to want to do the right thing in class. So everybody's going to have more success, and it's going to just be a better classroom environment for everyone.
You're right. Building relationships helps you know more about your students, and when you couple that with individual academic performance, you get to Genesis' specialty, which is differentiation. He makes sure to allow individual choice within assignments and that work is catered to various abilities. Can you tell me why individualized differentiation is more advantageous than the old one-size-fits-all method?
So many new teachers get really nervous about the idea of differentiation because they think that that means that they're going to have to create a bunch of different lesson plans for one particular lesson. And Genesis is right, that's not the case at all. Good differentiation has to do with student involvement. You have to get all of your students involved or else they're not going to engage with your content. But when you provide activities like the ones Genesis did that give students choice, they get to show what they know using their different learning styles, using their different interests at whatever academic maturity level they are at right now. And that's going to make students feel heard, it's student-centered, but it's also going to allow teachers to gather data so that they can show that every single one of their students are growing. That, no matter where they were when they came in, they are showing growth and they're learning the material using their different learning styles, and that's really important.
Thank you for sharing that information with me, Rachel. It was really great to hear.
Thank you. I just love discussing these things with you, and especially the teacher success stories. Do you think there are more?
Oh, I'm sure there are. Let's see if we can pull one up.